have on Google and show you here. So the first big one here is the insert data from Word file. It's not much different than what we've previously done within Word itself. It's just in a different location for this. So if we go up to data and then get external data, and then we can say from text. And you can literally import a Word document and it will populate your column headers, your row headers, and then all of the data. It might be just the view that I have it on, or like the aspect ratio of my monitor, because it'll like shrink it like this. But I mean, if you can already see it there, like it's not the end of the world, right? Yeah. So that one's really easy. All you have to do is click like from text and then go find wherever your text is. And you can bring it in really easy. These right here, the sum if, count if, average if. These are something that we talked a little bit about, and I showed you a couple of examples in class. And essentially all that it is writing conditional statements. So if I go to insert function here, so I'm just going to show you count if. So I need to count, and again, we're counting numbers here. So if I say price, the total price, I'm going to take that range and I need to count and say if it's less than $1,000. Right? And so if I say that, if that meets true, we hit enter and we can see that there are 22 supplies on this document that are coming back as under $1,000, right? Next one that we can use is say like average if. So if we take kind of the same thing here, so if we take this range, right, and say, I don't know, let's take this range of quantities, and if we say that it's, I don't know, how many, what's the average of them that are over 2? Greater than 2, right? So if we click OK, right, we get there are 24 in the range that are over 2. And again on this one, so the actual cells being used to find the average. So again, we could go ahead and we could select the quantities again, or if we wanted to see what the price average is based upon those that are over 2. All right, so this is a complex formula. So we're asking it, so for the range of quantity, those that are over 2, what is the average price in that column? So now if I click OK, here it's $1,800 is the average of anything that has a quantity over 2 in that category. If we were to go ahead and change this to say like 5, right, we can see that the average price goes way down because the amount of supplies that are over that value are a lot lower. We can do the same thing with our sum if, right? Add the cells specified by a given condition or criteria. So we could do a sum of, let's see here, if we do, let's do total price. So we're going to add this together for the criteria of truck, or sorry, hold on. I got that switched up. We're going to do truck for this. And for our range here, right, so we need to go through this column. And then we're going to add then the total price in this column. All right, so the sum is if it is a type of truck, the value is 25,468. So we can use this formula in order to help us solve this. I highly recommend that you take time to actually go through these formulas and try to use them. Adam? Yeah. Yep. Which is I shouldn't say it's unfortunate, but it wasn't planned. But it's fine. Next up here, printing rows across sheets. This one is relatively easy. This is just under your page layout. And if you go to your page setup dialog box and then go over to sheet, there's this rows to repeat at top. And so right now, if say this is blank here, right? All I need to do is click the row number itself and click that, click OK. And so now I have my row columns will be all selected. They'll print across all the different pages, right? No matter what. And so again, it's just something that I hadn't done before or I hadn't done for a while. So that's how we do that one. Modify document properties, and I'm going to go ahead and cover then inspect workbook for accessibility and compatibility issues. Most of that is just done up here in your files, right? Again, we have our document properties here, but then if we go into our inspect workbook, not only do we have inspect document like we did for Microsoft Word, but we have check accessibility, and this is for content for people who have vision disabilities. So this will actually go through and identify what common issues are that people who may have vision deficiency would have actually reading through this. And then checking compatibility is essentially if somebody is on a different version of Excel, will they be able to open it? It will be able to tell you specifically what you've used inside of this document that may not be compatible with other versions of the program, okay? Which can be sometimes an issue. So if I click check accessibility, right, we go over here and we can see all of these warnings. All of these warnings will need to change in order to make sure that this document is basically 508 compliant, right? For anybody that has vision disability that will be using this form, we need to go through and make sure that these have been changed. So here you can see A1 through G1 material list. If you look at the why fix, it will tell you why we should fix it, what it does for people who have vision disabilities. And then if you scroll down, it will actually tell you how to fix it. So then you actually just need to go in and perform those actions to fix it, okay? And we would have to go ahead and change all of those. There'll be like 1 or 2 issues here that you then need to go into the document and fix. Correct. Custom sort, like we looked at filters, but there are custom sorting material as well. So if you go actually on your home tab, and then underneath sort, there is a custom sort, right? And so we can actually determine how we want this sorted. So I'm going to go ahead and click this one, right? And so on this first column here that we're going to sort, it's going to be by quantity. And then we're going to go ahead and choose by values. If you want to, or if you do conditional formatting, right, to where then your cells are filled with green, yellow, red, stuff like that, you could actually sort it by cell color. So if you have higher ones that are red and you want to sort by those that maybe need to be reordered or something along those lines, you could do that. So I'm just going to do value, and I'm going to do largest to smallest, and then I'm going to add a level and say that I want it, I don't know, I want it by, let's say total price, right? And so we're also going to go largest to smallest. So what we do then is when we enter that, we can now look over here, items that share then the same value. So if we look at the laptop, computer tables, and binders here, they're first in ascending order here in the quantities column. But then if we scroll over, then they're also in ascending order as far as price, or sorry, descending, my bad. In descending in price. So we can set up some of these custom sorts that way. If I clear all of them, you can also go underneath these filters here and go into number filters, and you can perform things like above average or below average. So if you wanted to only see the upper half of products as far as price go, we could choose above average. So anything that's above the average price of everything in our table is all that we want to see. So if we want to see our top 50% of items, then we can do it that way. You can do even just your top 10 items, right, by price. So now we're only seeing the top 10 items, okay? They're just additional ways in order to filter this data out. These ones right here, pain in the butt. These are your text functions. So there are specific text functions. I'm going to show you one specific one. Just go into Excel and do equals left and then see what it does. Like, and then do equal right, equal mid, equal upper, equal lower, equal proper. It'll show you how some of that is done. I'll leave this up, and again, you have the time to test it today. But the one I'm going to show you right now is going to be how to combine names, right? So if you have like a last name, right? Last name first, we can actually use a specific formula that will calculate both of those, which is the concatenate, right? I'm sure that's not right, but that's how it looks, right? So what we need to do for this one is text 1, we set that up as the last name. Text 2 here, I'm actually going to put a comma in there. And then in text 3, I'm going to choose the first name. And the reason why I put the text 2 as a comma is because I want Dolly, comma, Mike, right? Just for these purposes here. So boom, I can easily go ahead and put my name into something a little bit more formalized, like a database would look at. Yeah. So that's a great question. And I thought that too, because that's how I know this, right? Yep. I agree. And it said that if you get to the same response, like it's considered correct. However, this is what I did. So G4 ampersand quote space comma quote ampersand H4, right? So I'm using a little bit of programming knowledge that I have in order to set up these different identifiers that I want to combine these two cells in the way that I want to combine them. I get the same answer. Mine's wrong. Hmm? So the function. Do this function. That's it. Yeah, so if you choose this cell, then in text 2 here, you put a comma. Text 3 is then the first name.
I mean, that's not hard.
It's.
I just don't get why. I would say word the question.
Would you rather have to remember G4 ampersand quote comma quote ampersand cell reference? I mean, I agree, but in order to set up this, because again, Excel is a numbers thing, right? And so it doesn't specialize in working with like text. So we need to set specific like barriers around what variables and strings that we're working with. So if you ever take like a programming class that talks about strings and variables, this is an exact application of it, right? And then let's see here. 2 more, adding data series. This is for your charts, right? So if we go into this, and I forgot where I had a chart. So if I go into here and say I highlight these, right? And I go into insert and I can go ahead and make a chart, right? Say I want to go ahead and change my chart. I want to change the chart type, which we've done before, right? And so I want to go ahead and I want to figure out what the item is here. So I have the item and then I have the price, but maybe I need to go ahead and include the total price as well. So if I go into select data, I can then also add the series name, and then I can go into my series value and now click OK. And now you can see I've added this as well into the chart. And then with this one, we can't go ahead and flip it. But previously, before we added those here, right? We can actually switch these. All right, just a simple click of switching the data. The other things that are common, again, you need to hover over these so that way you can highlight the correct option. Maybe you need to go in and make it monochromatic, right? So that way it's using one color in order to show variance. But that's it. And then last but not least is one more thing for accessibility. And that's literally adding what is called an alt tag. And so an alt tag is usually that if somebody who has a vision disability, right, if they have a text to speech software, it will then tell them what it is. So if they may not be able to see what the imagery is, their software can help. So if we go into format chart area, and this works for any object in Excel if you just right click on it. And now if we go into this size and properties, there's an alt text area, right? And so we could just put like prices of trucks. Yes. Yep. So this would just be a descriptor for somebody that needs to have a text to speech operator, like saying like, yeah, the chart is prices of trucks compared to years of something. I mean, you can still interpret the data and make correlations. Like just because you can't see the color, or maybe you're color blind, right? Like my friend Travis can't see the difference between two commonly used colors. So if this chart, right, is all the same color to him because of his deficiency, and it says like, oh, the blue bar on the chart, and he's like, well, I can't see blue. So now he's able to at least then have this, and if somebody puts in a good description here, he could be like, oh, it's the shortest bar. Yeah.
They like using a computer while they're like.
There are many ways that those people they can overcome their disabilities using software. I mean, if there are people who I've seen get to platinum on League of Legends playing with their toes because they don't have hands, then anything is possible, right? Like
It's a flat on Rocket League.